Well, hello again. Now, as some of you already know, I wear two caps and I keep an eye on what's going on in the world, and I've given you a lot of reports. But because things are hotting up the way they are, some of you may have seen what I reported before on biblical prophecy. Now, before I give you this report, let me make something clear. I'm not a rabbi, I'm not a pastor, I'm not a preacher, and I don't belong to any synagogue, and I don't belong to any church. But I do believe in the Old Testament Bible, and I certainly believe in the Creator God, and I certainly believe what I've read to be at least the best information we can go to for what is going to happen if something's going to happen by the Creator. Now, most of you who belong to either Judaism or belong to Christian or whatever have been using Bibles which have interpreted things which I believe to be error. And the churches are in error, and so are the synagogues. The Judaism is in error. When I show you this particular film, you're going to see that the section in yellow on the chart that I have made, that section in yellow represents the old ancient Medo-Persian Empire. That Medo-Persian Empire falls under what I'm going to show you here as the United Nations New World Order IMF World Banking Cartel. Yes, it's not going to be Greece. You see, all of the documents that are put out by the churches, they refer to Daniel chapter 8 verse 21 as being that representing Greece. No, it is not Greece. And if you look at the original text, you'll see that the word in the original text is Yavan, Y-A-V-A-N. And if you want to look at what that means in the Hebrew text, you go back to Genesis 6 or 10, you will find that the word Yavan is referring to none other than the Gentile nations out of Japheth. Now, when you look at that particular scenario as a beginning of prophecy in Daniel, now you'll realize that who fits the bill as the goat power that wars against the ram power with two horns. This ram power's knocked out. One horn's knocked out first, then the next horn's knocked out. Most people think that was just Iraq and Iran or Medo-Persia. No, it's not. Well, yes, it is. It's not just Iraq and Iran. It also includes Egypt. Now, with things hotting up today, as you all know, on the television stations and the news, it's happening over in Egypt right now, and it's ready to blow. And the Western Alliance, the United Nations, the UN, they're gearing up for a pretty bad fight, because all of the ships and all of their armies are positioning themselves around that area right now. So because of this, I wanted to show you this chart. You have a look, get your head back in the book. Don't take for granted that your pastor, your preacher, or your rabbi has given you the good oil. I'm sorry, they are in error. Now, you'll see what I mean when you come through this chart with me and you do your own research. Do not just think that your particular religious organization has given you the correct interpretation of Daniel prophecy. Okay, let's get started. To familiarize yourself with the chart that I've made here, let me explain a few things. First of all, as you can see, I'm going to point on the screen with you. There's Asia, there's India, Europe, over here. Then over this side, the other side of Africa, you've got Portugal and Spain. In here of this yellow section, that is the old Medo-Persian Empire, which of course was defeated by the Greeks, Alexander the Great. There's Alexandria. And there's Israel in here. There's Jerusalem about there. Now, a little bit more to explain to you. This is Egypt. This is part of that ancient Medo-Persian Empire. Now, most of the Bibles will talk about Iraq and Iran as being Medo-Persia, which is correct. But no one seems to realize, if they look up the old ancient maps, Egypt is also part of the Medo-Persian Empire. Now, in Daniel 8 verse 21, It refers to a goat power that comes down and has a war with a ram. The ram has two horns. Most of your Bibles will say that the two horns were Iraq and Iran. But it doesn't, again, mention that it also includes Egypt. In the Bible it tells you that the goat power, with a notable horn between its eyes, coming from the west, doesn't touch the ground and annihilates the Medo-Persian Empire, represented by the ram power with two horns. Now if you want to look into it a little bit better, you'll see that one horn of the two horns in the ram power has been knocked out. I've got a red cross over it. I've put a red cross over some other places here to indicate to you that the New World Order, the United Nations, NATO, UNSC, with the IMF and the World Bank behind them, in other words, the whole dynasty that were funding and financing World War I and World War II, and they're up to their own tricks here again. They print the money for the government, but also they want total control of every country in the world. I don't know why, but they want total control. And this is the way they're going about it. In this goat power, I referred it to the Gentile nations, and as I said before, I referred it to the Gentile nations because the word is Yavan, Y-O-V-A-N. It is not Greece. And if you go back to Genesis chapter 10, you'll see that the progeny out of Japheth includes Yavan, and Yavan is the founder of the Ionians, or the Gentile nations. Based on that, you can now realize that what is happening in front of your eyes on the news and on the television stations right now, it's hotting up. I put these arrows here to indicate to you, and there they are, that they are building up their armed forces and their ships all very close to this area now. They're building up right now. When we look at the modus operandi of the New World Order, the way they get a country to capitulate, they've already got Greece. What they do is get into a country, load a lot of money in the country, then coerce the country to sell off its water, its electricity, its ports, its transport. They do that in every country, as they've already done with Argentina. They send the country bankrupt. Argentina, with some 44 million people, went into bankruptcy. It took over a period of 3 or 4 years. But who came in and took over the government? The IMF. Again, who's coming in with the money, and who's coming in with the so-called stimulus money, and then takes over the policy in the government? The IMF. And as you all know, Greece is already gone, Italy's gone, Africa's gone, Spain is gone, Portugal is gone. Now, you can see on the map now that this Gentile nation in this war against this empire here is just about to knock out everybody. After this next skirmish, there'll be a red cross to annihilate there and Iran, as you'll wait and see. Now the old book says that Damascus is also, which is in there, Syria, that's also destroyed. Now I want to show you this because on this particular chart now, you've got an idea of what's going on in the world right now, and you can be a wake up to understanding the true meaning of the Bible prophecy. Okay, as we go through this report, come with me on this report, get your old book out or read this with me. This is going to be about Daniel 8 and the prophecy of the last days. The angel is talking to Daniel. He says, "Look, I am making known to you what shall happen in the last days, or the latter time of the indignation for the appointed time. The end shall be. The ram, which you saw, having the two horns, they are the kings or the leaders of Media and Persia, covering Iraq, Iran, and Egypt." In verse 21, the male goat is referred to as Greece. That is wrong. The word is Yavan, and that represents the Gentile nations, United Nations, NATO, IMF, etc. Now, the first king between its eyes, that could be Obama, because he is also appointed into the United Nations. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that, but I'm saying that's just my own opinion. Now, it says that the notable horn between its eyes is broken, and when it is broken, up come 4 other horns, meaning 4 other leaders. And that I've put there for you to see. The 4 unions are going to come into place: EU, African, North American, and the Asian. And out of that nation, it says, but not with its own power. Now, if it's not with its own power, who has the power behind them? Obviously, the New World Order. Now, you're going to see here that this vision, this prophecy, was to be sealed up. No one was to know about it until the time of the end. And now we are here at the time of the end. And people who thought it was going to be Grecian Empire back in 321 BC, that was not the time of the end. It goes on to say, he shall destroy the mighty and also the holy people. Through his cunning he shall cause deceit prosper under his will. He's a liar. And he shall exalt himself in his heart. He shall destroy many in their prosperity. In other words, not a time of war, it's a time of people making a lot of money. And that's when they step in and they send everybody bankrupt. He shall even rise against the prince of princes. Now, don't get that mixed up with the people that believe in Christ, because it is not. I will show you that if you write in your questions. It says, but he shall be broken without his human hand. If he's broken without human hand, then he must be broken by the hand of the divine, Yahweh, the creator God. It says, and the vision of the evenings and the mornings, which was told, is true. Therefore, the angel says to Daniel, seal up the vision, for it refers to many days in the future. It's the time of the end, the last days. This Daniel 8 prophecy also is lined in with chapter 7 prophecy and chapter 2 prophecy. Now, I must tell you right now that if you go to the Bible and you go to what the Christians teach, and if you go to what the Judaism teach, they are in error. They do not line up together, and if you wait and see what the rest of these chapters have got, write in the comments underneath this, and I will reply to you and give you an idea of what to look or where to go to make all these chapters, all these prophecies, fit together like a glove, like a jigsaw puzzle. And you'll know exactly what Yahweh, the Creator God, has got lined up for these bunch of evil international criminals that are just about to try and take over the entire world. They are already killing birds, bees, ecosystem. They are already knocking out all of the bird life that's in a migratory circle around the earth because of HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, and chemtrails. And if you write your questions in the bottom of this, I will send to you all of the information that explains to you quite clearly about HAARP and chemtrails.